Here's something that will quietly shift how you understand intelligence forever. Most people picture someone with a very high IQ as confident, decisive, the person with all the answers. But psychology keeps finding something far more unexpected. The people who score highest on measures of cognitive ability are often also the ones who feel most unsure of themselves, most restless, most dissatisfied with easy answers. And that specific tension between knowing a great deal and still feeling profoundly uncertain is where the real story begins. You've probably encountered someone like this, maybe in a meeting where everyone is moving quickly toward a decision, and one person goes quiet. Not because they're lost, because they're the only one who's noticed what the group hasn't asked yet. Maybe you've seen it in a relationship, a partner who seems emotionally distant during conversations, but later that night sends a message that cuts straight to the heart of something neither of you had found words for yet. Or maybe, if you're honest, you've felt it yourself. That particular loneliness of sitting in a room full of people and feeling strangely far away. Not because you don't care, but because your mind is already 3 steps ahead or 3 layers deeper, and there's no easy bridge back. It's worth being careful here, because a lot of these experiences, overthinking, loneliness, intensity, exist across many kinds of people. They don't automatically signal high intelligence. What separates the research findings is a matter of degree and pattern, not any single trait in isolation. That said, psychologists have noticed something consistent across high IQ populations. At the highest levels, intelligence doesn't just accelerate thinking, it fundamentally changes how a person experiences being alive. Polish psychologist Kazimierz Dabrowski identified what he called overexcitabilities, heightened sensitivities across intellectual, emotional, and sensory domains, more commonly observed in individuals with exceptional cognitive ability. Their nervous systems are simply processing more, faster, and with greater depth. From a psychological perspective, this overlaps with what researchers call metacognition, thinking about your own thinking. High IQ individuals don't just solve problems, they simultaneously observe themselves solving them, question their methods, and anticipate the problems within the solution. The first visible habit that emerges from this? They sit with questions far longer than most people are comfortable with. Inside that kind of mind, silence isn't empty. It's genuinely crowded. The second habit is relentless pattern recognition, not as a choice, but as an involuntary experience. In a meeting, they're tracking not just what's being said, but what isn't. In a conversation, they notice the small contradiction between someone's words and their timing. Cognitive researchers sometimes describe this as an unusually high cognitive load tolerance, the ability to hold many competing variables in mind without collapsing them prematurely into a simple answer. This can be extraordinary in the right context, in a crisis, in a complex negotiation, in any room where accuracy matters more than speed. But at a dinner table or in a relationship where someone just needs you to be present, it costs something real. The mind that processes everything deeply can struggle to simply be somewhere without also analyzing it. Here's where it gets more interesting. Highly intelligent people tend to have an unusual relationship with certainty itself. Most people find comfort in arriving at answers, but the higher someone's cognitive ability, the more precisely they can see how fragile most answers really are. This is the third habit, a genuine, almost structural tolerance for ambiguity. The ability to hold 2 contradictory ideas simultaneously without forcing resolution. Psychologists call it dialectical thinking, and genuine facility with it is statistically rare. The fourth habit follows from this, intellectual humility. High IQ individuals question their own conclusions more, not less. This isn't false modesty. It's a direct consequence of understanding how much remains uncertain. Research on expertise consistently shows that the more deeply someone knows a field, the more aware they become of its open edges. And the fifth habit? They read, obsessively, widely, and across disciplines. Not as performance, because ideas are where a certain kind of mind actually feels at rest. But here's the paradox that the research quietly points to. None of this makes ordinary life easier. In many cases, it makes specific parts of life considerably harder. The same capacity for metacognition that allows someone to catch an error no one else noticed can also trap them in a loop of self-analysis about a conversation they had 3 days ago. The same pattern recognition that reads a room accurately can make it genuinely difficult to feel like they belong in one. The strange part is, intelligence without corresponding emotional grounding can become its own kind of labyrinth, built entirely of thoughts with no clear exit toward feeling. The sixth habit is observable and almost universal in this group. They observe before they speak. In a new environment, high IQ individuals tend to watch first. In a job interview, in a new social setting, in a team they've just joined. To others, this can read as arrogance, or aloofness, or disinterest. It is none of those things. It is the same instinct a scientist brings to any new variable. Gather information before drawing conclusions. The seventh habit is a heightened sensitivity to inconsistency and injustice. They notice when the logic doesn't hold, when the policy doesn't match the stated values, when someone's behavior doesn't align with their words. This makes them natural truth seekers. It also makes them quietly exhausted by institutions that run on comfortable fictions. The eighth habit is finding genuine restoration in solitude. Not antisocial withdrawal, but a real need for time when the mind can move at its own speed, without the cognitive overhead of social performance. The ninth habit is creating. Writing, mathematics, music, code, design. The form is secondary. What matters is the act of making something that didn't exist. Because for certain minds, creation isn't a pursuit. It's how they make sense of being alive. And the 10th habit is the most defining. They never fully stop learning. Not from ambition or credential chasing, but from something closer to genuine hunger. Because the world, for a mind like this, is always more complex and more interesting than any current understanding of it. If something in this video landed for you, that's exactly what this channel is here to do. Hit like if this resonated. Subscribe so you don't miss what's coming next.